Hi, it's George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday morning. We're going to have one that'll have you take a position on this one. It's going to be all about what is it that many independent agents don't understand about what's really going on. And Lynn Thomas, who's the founder and the CEO of Thomas Consulting, I've been working with Lynn for many years. She's over in the Boston area. She's been in business for 25 years, and she's worked 475 agents. That's amazing, Lynn. Tax attorney. I knew you were a tax attorney, too. That means she's a tax person and an attorney. She's all of the above, and she's a private banker. She's worked at the Bank of Boston for a long time. She's spoken at a lot of my meetings and conventions. We've had her on a previous Monday morning, too, because this is what she's in, and that's what I'm into, as you probably know, is client relationships and so forth. So, Lynn, I know this is going to be a little bit controversial. People are going to have to, but you deal with this on a daily basis. What do you see agencies doing that they aren't successful and they continue to do?
Well, and this is a passion of mine, George, because I've been seeing it for 25 years, and it's been changing a bit. But it's there's their focus, sort of the relentless focus on going after new clients and not paying, from my point of view, as much attention on current clients, and really rounding out the book of business, which is much more profitable and much wiser than continuously going after new business. I don't want to be misunderstood that there's no value in new business, but they have this focus that the way that they're going to grow is through new business, and the vast majority, I'd say like about 85%, still have their sales and marketing budget focused on basically going after new customers. Mm-hmm. And and I see it almost like an addiction or a devotion somehow. If I have a new customer, I'm better than going to an existing customer and selling additional products and services. And I think it's just imprudent. It's not financially wise. It doesn't work. And it's sort of like filling up this leaky customer bucket while rather than plugging the leaking holes that are in the bucket.
You said 85%. That's a huge number.
Yeah, there's some that have changed, and they actually reward their producers differently for retained business than new business. And there's some insurance companies that have changed, but they're a small minority, and it's really closer to about 90%. But it's really the focus of where do you want. I mean, there's one agency that I've worked with in upstate New York where when you become a new customer, the man says that unless I have all your business at the end of the first year, I will not renew any of your business.
Ooh, that's tough.
Ballsy. But you know what? Who's going to stay with them? It's going to be customers who want to give them all of their business, because what I've said many years to many clients over the years is, when you take, if you allow your customers to take some of their commercial personal lines and put it with another agency, it's like going to the dentist and say, okay, here's my top teeth, and this other dentist gets my bottom teeth. I mean, the dentist will say, forget it. I need to see your whole mouth. I can't do this piecemeal.
Okay, and, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, I think with for other agencies, that it really needs to become fanatically focused on getting all the business they can from existing customers and plugging up the leaky customer bucket. And the more products and services they have, the more likely they will stay with you.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know. I think you're probably right. It is what way most agency owners think. But I'm just agreeing with what you had to say, because I think I'm going to spend the rest of my career just on retention, because I do believe it, and I believe exactly what you're saying. So, anyhow, what do agencies and companies do every year? What's the churn that comes along?
Well, on average, companies replace more of the personal lines than commercial lines, but it's somewhere between 8 to 10% a year. So that means in 5 years, George, most companies are replacing 50% of the customers. I mean, wow. That's a hard way to make business, because you've got to get new customers in, get them up on the system, get everything written, get it, book it with the carrier that you want, have everything up. It's a strain on any system, and it's said that in a given year there's 180 billion different relationships that are changed and renewed rather than staying with our current vendors. So this is just on the insurance industry. It's rampant, I think, in the insurance industry, but it's really throughout all companies in this country particularly. There is this desire to really go out and get new customers, and it perplexes me. It really does. I want to do a TED talk on this because it's like, why don't they?
TED talk.
It's
That's
like
good.
focus.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Focus
you.
on. No, it's okay. Focus on your current customers.
All right.
And so maybe taking their sales and marketing budget and and dividing, giving 20 to 30% towards retention. And as I said, why aren't people jumping up and down saying, wait, this is not wise. We've been doing this for years. It doesn't work. Let's try to retain more clients and get some new great top clients, not just any clients, but get the ones that you can serve best with. Because there are 8 billion customers that leave businesses every year, and it costs insurance companies and agencies 20% of its gross revenue when customers leave.
Wow.
It's estimated that 1.6% of an agency's gross revenue leaves every month when clients leave. And people are just looking at the front door and not saying, wait. We have 1.6% of our gross revenue going out the back door, and we're not doing anything about it. It's like, why aren't people, wanting to do something different and seeing what they're doing doesn't work? I think it worked years ago, George, when the competition wasn't as severe, but it's never been great. And if you look at doctors and dentists and attorneys and accountants, they exist on referrals. And I think the same thing with insurance, that really what insurance people are, and I think they do a disservice to themselves, is they're professionals. They have their expertise, and they're really giving advice. And they should be able to exist on referrals. But some agree and many don't agree.
Here we go, the economics of retention versus new customers. I've always heard these bandied around, but if I'm talking to Lynn Thomas, I know here's somebody who's been dealing with it for 25 years, just this first thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the insurance industry is uniquely positioned to have the highest customer acquisition cost, which means they pay more than any other industry to get a new customer in, and it's 13 times more to attract a new customer to retain. So just with that alone, and forget the rest of the facts we'll go through, for most agencies to say, well, we have X amount earmarked for marketing and sales to new customers, why don't we take some of that and we'll wind up with a better bottom line because we're not going to spend so much to attract new customers. And we will get new customers, but get them through referrals, which is the best way of getting new customers. So the choice is an agency could spend $1,300 to attract a new customer or basically $100 to retain one. And I think the wise choice and prudent choice is pretty obvious.
Doesn't take you many brains, does it?
Yeah. And new customers, this is one thing that insurance companies do and why they buy books of business as a strategy for growth, is that new customers have higher loss ratios than existing customers. And nobody really knows why, except they're maybe more set, but I was just with a company yesterday that the way that they want to grow and the way their strategy has been buying books of business from agencies.
Yeah, I can see that. I never really thought about that. I don't think most people have thought about this very much.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So
okay.
it's not attractive to your carrier partners, higher loss ratios, and it hurts agencies if their loss ratios. And then the third is that because of the high acquisition costs, you have to retain the customers for a long period of time to break even. It's not to make money, to even break even. So a personal lines client is on average 3 to 4 years, and commercial lines is 5 to 6 years. And I want, producers and CSRs to think, okay, this is a new customer. Is this the type of customer that we can keep for we'll go on a little bit for 7 years, but at least 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years to break even? And most people in agencies and even in carriers don't understand. They're in the red. They're not making money. They're losing money. If a client stays with you for 3 or 4 years, most likely you're losing money, and that should be not an option. Non-optional behavior. It's like they cannot leave until we at least make money off them.
Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
There's their agencies lost money. Just need to know it. Okay.
Right. So cross-selling, which everybody knows is wise and smart to do, but it's a key strategy in really trying to grow. And this is where I think agencies do a disservice going after new customers rather than looking at their book of business. If it were up to me, George, I would say that I would take no monoline clients, especially if they're just auto, but even homeowners, because they probably have a car and they probably need an umbrella. So monoline clients are the ones who are most likely to leave, and they'll leave you because of price, So why spend the time up front of attracting them, spending all the money, the time to attract them when they're most likely to leave? It's like it's not wise and prudent. And it's really interesting because it's said in the insurance industry, if there's 4 to 5 different services or products a client has, the chances of them leaving decreases by up to 5 times less likely, so up to like 500% less likely. And the reason for it is if you just have an auto policy, it's easy to go out and move that. But if you have an auto, and home, and umbrella, and you've got 2 or 3 different, you've got a boat and maybe like a jet ski, and maybe you have a business and a line and a BP, a BOP, it's harder to recreate that relationship. And when I was in banking at Bank of Boston, they always said for us, if we sell 7 services and products to a client, they could do anything to them and they won't leave because they keep you waiting a long time. And the thing that the insurance industry does, it's so easy to leave. You don't have to go in to even tell anybody you're going to leave. You can just leave.
You know, a long time ago, I was working with State Farm. I never worked with them, but I had all their information and everything else on a continuing basis because they were our #1 competitors for direct writers back in those days. And still are, as a matter of fact. They're still, by a large amount, the biggest property casualty personal lines insurance company anywhere. And they had the numbers for them. If you had 3 policies and then you had the 4th with a life, the 3 would be auto, home, and maybe a umbrella or whatever, but the 4th one was a life. The retention level was way above 95%. It was unreal. Absolutely. I kept saying that, wasn't getting very far, but I did say it after I learned from them.
Well, there's things called a glue product, George, and so life insurance is a glue product, which means people don't want to move it. When people deal with life insurance, nobody wants to think about dying frequently. So, and the glue products are in personal lines, it's homeowners rather than auto, and in commercial lines, it's if it's needed, professional liability, and then life insurance is the best. If you can get life insurance there, that's the next sell.
Okay.
So if you can get life insurance in your agency, the more people you're able to sell life insurance to, and in a way that they want to keep it, that's quite wise. The next is talking about an existing client is 4 times more likely to give a referral than a new client. And as I was saying before, as attorneys and doctors and dentists and accountants, I really the agencies I work with, I want them to referral-based only agencies because referrals are a key source of new high-quality customers and low cost, and they also have the highest sales hit ratio for any type of new business. They bring in 2 to 3 times more revenue than a new customer. And if you think about it, it sort of makes sense because they feel comfortable enough. If you were to refer me to somebody, George, I would trust your referral more than if I would just find them on my own. Mm-hmm. So they give more business. And then they have a 25% bonus in retention. They're more likely to be with you than a non-referred client.
Wow.
So when I look at all these, why would anybody get business any other way than asking for referrals? It's a little uncomfortable, and I know it's a little difficult, but it's just like practicing like anything else. You'll get really good at it, and it's the most prudent way. And for me, really, the way that the best salespeople get new business. Mm-hmm. So, and also existing customers are less price sensitive and more loyal than new customers. And what that means that you can increase your prices, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% a year, and the longer customers are with you, the less price sensitive. And if you think about it, we're loyal by nature. People are not sitting around saying, "Oh, I can't wait for my doctor or my dentist or my attorney or my accountant or my dry cleaners where I get my car service to mess up so I can go and replace them." If anything, we're hoping and praying that nobody makes a mistake because we don't have time to replace them. So when clients leave agencies, to me it's a moment of truth to step back and say, what do we do to chase them away? Because we really need to chase them away. And if they leave for less than 10 to 12 or 10 to 15%, that's communicating back to the agency that I don't think you've given me high quality service, because throughout most industries, we're willing to stay for a premium. We're willing to pay a premium for high quality service and products, and that's anywhere from 10 to 15%. So when I work with customers or former customers, work with agencies to get their former customers back, many times they leave because of indifference, and they're not willing to pay 10 to 12 or 15% more because their perception is basically my agency has been indifferent. They haven't contacted me. They haven't done a review. They're not proactive, and a lot of the common problems that we've heard for many years. Though I do want to say they're improving. The technology is helping a lot. I mean, the agencies, they're not the same as they were even 4 or 5 years ago, but there's still quite a distance for them to go to be a referral-based only agency and getting double-digit growth comfortably, working mostly with their current clients, and maybe 5 to 7% of their growth is new clients. So, and one other benefit of existing customers is that they're less costly to serve. So if you think of a brand new customer, he or she doesn't know how your renewal process goes, and if they have a claim, what do? Do they call the agency and or the company? And if they have a question about billing, who's it easiest to call? Once people have done that, and sometimes many agencies wisely put that in like a welcome aboard package, where they let them know and frequently ask questions on their website, because you don't want people calling in. I mean, that takes quite a bit of time. And again, until they're with you 4 to 6 years, depending if they're personal or commercial lines, you're losing money. So every time they call in and they're taking up time, that's okay, you're there to serve, but you want to minimize that time if possible. And the longer clients with you, the less likely they are to call. And as I said, they've been through a year or more of working with you, so they're more, they've gone through what we call the assimilation phase. They're into the cultivation stage, where you can get additional products and services and referrals from them. And one thing too, George, I haven't heard many clients talk about is working with a lifetime value. You know, once you've paid these high acquisition costs to get a customer, why not say, well, what are we willing to do to keep them? Because if they leave, we have to go out and spend that 13 times more to get a new client, and we have many negative economics that will negatively impact us, our profitability, and the lifetime value. So if you're looking at a customer, let's say the $5,000 customer a year on personal lines, and you project that out, let's say 20 years, that's a $10,000. No, it's a $100,000 customer. $100,000 customer. I mean, what are you willing to do to keep a $100,000 customer? Because it's not realistic to just call them a $5,000 customer, because that's 1 year. You've earned, in my book, the agency has earned the lifetime revenue. You know, they paid those acquisition costs. They got them aboard. They deserve to have the $100,000 over the lifetime. But they don't think of it that way, and they make, in my opinion, some not really wise decisions of how to interact with those clients, and they wind up making enough mistakes or errors, or they act indifferently towards them, and they wind up leaving.
Well,
if
an agency is, if an agency really ought to know what is the average lifetime value of their existing customer, and then they'd make a number of these things for retention, I think, if they actually knew that. I never hear this talked about at all. I haven't. No, lifetime value, have you?
Yeah, well, if you want to do your A, B's, and C's, or your most highly valued, I would have it for each one of those. But I think for everybody in the agency to know what is the average lifetime value. So take your, what's your average revenue per employee, and times that by what you think is reasonable, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And so every employee should know that if they make a mistake, and if they act abruptly, or they're not giving true excellence in the client service that they offer, that client's going to leave and take all their future revenue to another agency.
Got it.
And it's just, you want them to stay, and you want them to refer existing clients like them, because they will refer people like themselves. So, okay. Moving on to the 9th is the return on investment. So if you always want to look at your money and say, well, what am I going to, if I invest X, Y, if I invest $10, what am I going to get back? So return on investment for retention is a quick, healthy, 10 to 15% return, usually within a year. and it can be even quicker than that, which is quite amazing. And there are very few other investments an agency can make to grow that will give them that quick of a return. But the impact on the bottom line, if you can increase retention by 5%, it has a positive impact of 25 to 85% increase in profits over 2 to 3 years, George. I mean, it's really amazing. And I don't know of any sales program, and I don't care how you structure it or what you offer as incentives, that can have that impact on profits.
Wow, that's huge, 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 huge.
It's huge. It's huge. And again, the retention, again, the insurance industry has the most to gain for this because they have the highest customer acquisition cost. And there's two factors, the customer acquisition cost and the frequency of the sales cycle. And because their sales cycle is annual and high acquisition cost, they're in the greatest position to gain the most, but also on the other side of the coin, they lose the most when they lose clients. So it's and you know, this is another fact that's not that well known, that the goal I see for agencies is that they need to keep clients for at least 7 years. And why 7 years? Because there's only 2 to 3% of people that leave any business we've been at 7 years.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's a fascinating one. So if it's like, as you go after new customers, is this the kind of customer that we will keep for 7 years? Because if not, because when 7 years happens, I don't know if it's human inertia or just they've been through the process enough, they stay with you. So you don't want to just keep them 1 year or two. You want to keep them till you break even, and then you want to get them to the magical 7 years where they'll just stay. And having those kinds of strategies, what do we have to do the first year they're with us, the second, the third, the fourth? Have a plan of what you do to keep them to 7 years, and definitely a plan after that. But there's more activity, more proactiveness that's needed to cement them for after 7 years, and then they will not leave. And some advantages of existing clients is you want them to complain, and I know many people don't know I don't want them to complain. Well, the clients that do complain, statistically, there are only 4% of clients that complain, and 96% just walk away quietly. And what I'd like to suggest to people is when a customer is complaining, what is it they're really saying? I mean, underneath their complaint, they're saying, I want to stay. Please help me to stay. I don't want to go and replace you. So if you can hear that as opposed to their complaint, what they're really saying is, I want to stay. Because the numbers are 25 clients are behind them that are packing their bags rather than calling.
That's scary.
So see them, yes, a spokesperson, like with a megaphone saying, I want to stay, and the other 25 people that I'm representing also want to stay. But because you do X, Y, or Z, and your standards are such, or the way you deal with people, or my CSR producers, X, Y, Z, they act in a certain way, that's why I'm leaving. And you want them to complain, thank them. You can say to someone who complains, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's not admitting that anything did wrong. You're saying from one human being to another, I'm really sorry that happened to you. I can understand why you're upset. Let's see what we can do to get you, get everything rectified and back being a happier customer. Good. I'm committed to doing it. How does that sound? Just not to get defensive, which is human nature, but it's practicing not being defensive. There's a great acronym I have, which is QTip, which is quit taking it personally. If they complain, it's really not about you. It's about the situation. And even if you created it, you didn't intend to upset them. So, and if more clients stay with an agency, the more employees will stay. And the reason for this is that there's a strong correlation between them. So you can imagine if every time you went to, your dry cleaners, there was a whole new staff there. After a while, you would think, what's going on here? Why are people quitting? And you would just feel a little bit like something's happening here. I don't know why, but there's always new people. And you would tend not to want to stay with them just because we like to see familiarity, and we're creatures of habit. So similarly, in an agency, if employees are turning over at a certain pace where clients become uncomfortable and just wondering what's going on there, why are there so many of the staff leaving, they just become uncomfortable. So it's usually customers, whatever the retention rate is for customers, the employees is 2 to percentage points lower than that. And you want the customers, obviously, you want the employees to stay who are really your talented employees.
Okay, Lynn, now bring it all together for me. What do you really think?
Okay, what I'm saying. So I'm really surprised that in companies around the country that more shareholders are not up in arms and saying, why are you wasting financial resources on pursuing new customers as a strategy to build business? It's not smart, it's not economical, and it's not an effective strategy to grow a profitable business by attracting mostly new business. It doesn't work. We've been trying to do it for years and years, and the end result, it seems, is that most companies are just stuck in the old and costly mindset, which is, we have to attract new customers while simultaneously losing existing ones, and that's how we're going to build business. And
wow.
The true result is it doesn't build the business. It really just stresses people out very much. And there's many other ways that we've gone over, which would be far wiser, far smarter, and far easier.
Well, I hope the people who are listening to this in the agencies will take that into account and actually show everybody in the agency how important retention is. I always knew it was important, but I didn't know all these numbers. Boy, that's pretty scary. You've made a believer out of me. You've got a new book out too.
Yes, coming out next week is Wowing Your Way to Profits. And by Tuesday or Wednesday next week, go get it on Amazon.com, and you can download it for free as compliments of myself. So I'd be delighted for you guys to download it and read it. And there's worksheets and appendices that are focused on retention, and I'm sure it would help you significantly with your business.
Well, Lynn, thanks. I appreciate that, and I'll mention that in the time to come. Matter of fact, you just send me a little bit more information on it. I'll use it more in my email that goes out with these Monday mornings. In fact, we're expanding the email now. We've already started doing that. For example, this week you'll find our first registration form for a webinar we're having. Val Jordan, president of Agencies Online, is going to do that in May, and boy, it's a good one because she really understands utilizing a top-flight marketing organization and why you need that kind of help. So that's really good. We'll be running that all along. A lot of new stuff here. So Lynn, let me just thank you again for taking your time and effort to do this. And you're the retention expert, no question about it. There's your contact information. People should go there, and I hope they will. So thank you, Lynn. And
my pleasure, George. Thank you.
I will be talking to you and working with you a lot in the future. And for the rest of you, I'll see you next Monday morning.